The 2022 Super Bowl is rapidly approaching, and that gives me the chance to make a video ranking stuff. Dating back to 1967, there have been short concerts that occur during halftime at the NFL's biggest game of the year. However, it wasn't until the mid-90s that these performances started becoming the massive, iconic events that we know today. The Super Bowl halftime show used to just be a marching band playing an instrumental medley with a theme like Motown, or a salute to the big band era. When you go to the Wikipedia list for this topic, it helps specify the difference between these performers and headliners by putting the latter in bold letters. So while there technically have been halftime shows by New Kids on the Block and then different groups of A-list talent, I'm only interested in ranking the grand, greatest hits style concerts like what we have today, and not 5-minute commercials for Disney or Indiana Jones. We had headliners in 93, 96, 97, and then the tradition cemented itself from 2001 onward, so 24 total. The main characteristics that I'm going to be ranking based on are the quality of the performance itself, the cultural context of who was performing, we'll see if special guests were invited and whether or not there was chemistry between everyone involved, was the setlist worthy of this monumental occasion, and did they utilize wild costumes, crazy stage design, mind-blowing choreography, and so on. Because it's the Super Bowl, I don't want a normal concert. In my extremely humble opinion, Maroon 5 showed us exactly how not to do a Super Bowl halftime show. After other musicians rejected the invitation, the safest possible option swooped in and delivered a pretty lackluster performance. While the band played some hits, I'd say Harder to Breathe and Girls Like You are definitely not Super Bowl worthy. Then, at a time where the internet was begging for SpongeBob and Sweet Victory to be played during the concert, I think they chose the worst possible option by teasing that it was gonna happen and then just having it be a transition to sicko mode instead. After that, going from She Will Be Loved to Big Boy's Kryptonite was like peanut butter and gasoline. Having him out there was a nod to Atlanta hosting that year, but all of this felt really unnatural and manufactured. In 1980, Blues Brothers was a hit musical comedy film. In 1982, John Belushi died. In 1997, the Blues Brothers inexplicably headlined the Super Bowl halftime show. Jim Belushi, John's brother, someone who cannot really sing, was one of the main performers at the year's biggest concert. James Brown himself and ZZ Top came in for some short cameos, but it certainly wasn't enough to save whatever this was. I'm expecting a lot of boomer hate for this take, but the Rolling Stones are undoubtedly bottom 5 on this list. Yes, Mick Jagger's hips were swinging like only his hips can swing, but they did 3 songs, and one of them was from their latest album. When you're a band that's 700 years old, you're doing the Super Bowl, and you have as deep of a catalog as they do, just play the hits. Nobody wants to hear the new stuff. While there's nothing particularly bad about this set from The Who, it's just kind of nothing. They're very important in the grand scheme of rock and roll, but who in 2010 was begging to have them as the stars of the show? Who, I ask you? Who. There are some lasers, the band sounds alright, but it's a very simple, rather boring collection of greatest hits. This is my last example making fun of your dad's favorite band for a little while, and again, I think Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were decent, but this is extremely forgettable when reading over this list as a whole. American Girl, I Won't Back Down, and Free Fallin' is a great sequence, but as I keep saying, we need more outlandish, once-in-a-lifetime craziness, something that can't be replaced by typing in Tom Petty Live and clicking on any random performance. Okay, I am a big fan of these 3 albums by Justin Timberlake, and I think he's a very talented individual. This setlist is pretty good. We get dancing and some unique utilization of all of the space in the stadium, But at the height of the Me Too movement and a lot of changes happening in the cultural zeitgeist, why spotlight the guy that essentially ruined Janet Jackson's career at a previous Super Bowl halftime show? Regardless of whether or not you believe any conspiracy theories about it being planned or it wasn't planned, who you want to blame, etc., this woman was blacklisted from the industry because of this event, and Justin just kept getting bigger and bigger, so kinda tone deaf to bring him back, especially at that time. It's an average performance with bad timing. Let's move on. Shania Twain doing Man I Feel Like a Woman, followed by Gwen Stefani of No Doubt doing Just a Girl, and then special guest Sting doing Message in a Bottle with Gwen. I'm not against any of this per se, it's just strange. And again, the whole thing is pretty boring. A lot of these lower tier entries don't fully make it a show, but points to them for trying an interesting combination of people. Bruno Mars is a fantastic performer. He's a super talented guy, and there's no doubting that, but I think he got this gig a few years too early. Looking at his set list of Billionaire, Locked Out of Heaven, Treasure, Runaway Baby, and Just the Way You Are, I don't quite see that as Super Bowl status. Then, especially in comparison to the past few performers before him in 2012, 2013, and then after him in 2015, all of those people pushed the boundaries with their sets and special guests, where Bruno had the Chili Peppers come on and jump around for a couple minutes, and it did not do much for me. I don't really know how to rank U2's performance for this video. This was essentially the 9/11 tribute show, so I'm obviously not gonna fault them for lacking the fun stuff, but here's my quick little hot take. U2 are this internationally known band, Bono is a big activist guy, and they did a good job, but wouldn't it have been more powerful to have Americans doing a 9/11 tribute? Is that just me? Maybe people from New York? I don't know. The Black Eyed Peas could have been last place on this list, and they could have been first place on this list. They looked ridiculous, they take themselves way more seriously than they should, they probably deserve prison time for making us watch Fergie and Slash do Sweet Child of Mine, and Usher and will.i.am doing OMG is the opposite of timeless, but at the same time, they understood the potential of how grand this should be. I got a feeling, boom boom pow, pump it, let's get it started, where is the love and the time? That works for the halftime show being one big party. And truly, they really laid the groundwork for making this the spectacle that it is today. Paul McCartney was the very safe follow-up to one of the most controversial moments in TV history. And while I've complained about a bunch of the other old white guys being boring, it's Paul McCartney. Plus, he played versions of Drive My Car, Get Back, Live and Let Die, and Hey Jude that were more suited for a stadium show of this magnitude than the original recordings. It wasn't much, but I think it was enough. During my research, I've seen tons of articles saying that Aerosmith and NSYNC put on one of the best halftime shows of all time. I think it's entertaining, but I slightly disagree. From the pre-recorded sketch with Ben Stiller to Bye Bye Bye, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, and It's Gonna Be Me, things were going very well. The Kings of Rock and Pop theme was shining. I love how much they all seem to really go for it, but what happened next felt like the train went off the tracks. Walk This Way with Aerosmith, NSYNC, Britney Spears, Mary J. Blige, and Nelly was incomprehensible. All the credit to them for fully committing to it, but I don't think it landed. So far, the only Super Bowl halftime show possibly affected by COVID restrictions, I think The Weeknd did well, but there could have been more. While I'm a big, huge, enormous fan of this setlist personally, it's hard to say that Call Out My Name, Save Your Tears, and House of Balloons are as universal as many of the songs that I've talked about so far. This set design rules, the Hall of Mirrors was pretty iconic, and all of these synchronized dancers looked absolutely striking together, but as a whole, we've seen better. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band is the top tier example of just a normal band playing a simple concert with not a whole lot of theatrics, but they went so hard doing so that it was still great. When you have the boss screaming into the camera that you need to step back from the guacamole dip and put those chicken fingers down, I no longer feel the need for background dancers and special guests. Entering the top 10, we have this insane mishmash of Jessica Simpson, Janet Jackson, P. Diddy, Nelly, Kid Rock, and Justin Timberlake. And yes, if you're counting, isn't it crazy that he's done this 3 times? What happened at the end of this performance and the damage it caused is terrible, but the first 11 minutes are somewhat remarkable in my opinion. This is pure and utter American indulgence. Everything about it, it's just so much, and I think it succeeds in its maximalism. From Jessica Simpson shrieking at the top of her lungs in a band uniform, to the band playing The Way You Move by Outkast, to Janet killing it with her dancers, Diddy moving on a platform in this coat, cheerleaders singing "Hey Diddy, you're so fine, you blow my mind, hey Diddy," and transitioning it into "Hey Nelly, you're so fine," he comes out in whatever this is to do Hot in Here, into "Mo Money, Mo Problems," and then this f***ing guy comes out, and you know how it all ends. I thought the other combination of people was messy in a bad way, but this is messy in the best way possible. Coldplay has a few bangers, and their halftime show is worth the watch. But it's worth the watch because of Beyoncé showing up and doing formation with a team of dancers dressed as Black Panthers. P.S. Remember when she was falling down, but it turned into the coolest, most effortless recovery of all time? As someone who doesn't regularly listen to Shakira or Jennifer Lopez, or their special guests Bad Bunny and J Balvin, this is arguably the most fun I've ever had watching a halftime show. The energy here is unparalleled amongst any of these performances. They might as well be professional athletes with how much they were dancing and moving around. The songs that I did know were legendary throwbacks, and I still had a great time watching the stuff that I was unfamiliar with too. And at one point, J-Lo was on an Empire State Building stripper pole. Good stuff. Diana Ross's halftime show was super ahead of its time. She did a medley of absolute classics, including a few covers. The stage had some cool features like this thing. There were a ridiculous number of dancers across the entire field. She did an outfit change for each and every single song. During Ain't No Mountain High Enough, she rose 3 stories in the air in this huge cape thing and literally flew away on a helicopter at the end of the performance. What a woman. Michael Jackson was the first ever headliner for the Super Bowl halftime show, and what's probably the single craziest moment in the history of these things is that he began his set by just standing there for like a minute and a half. Just standing. And everybody is going buck wild the entire time. Billie Jean and Black or White went hard, but I wish We Are the World and Heal the World could have been replaced by a countless number of his 10 out of 10 perfect songs that would have made for a more entertaining, enjoyable performance. Lady Gaga beginning her concert with patriotic songs while on the roof of the stadium, and then jumping down and immediately doing poker face. That's history right there. I have no issues with this entire performance whatsoever, but the thing is, you kind of expect this level of showmanship from her anyway. So her doing the stuff that you wish everybody else would do seems basic for her. Like, with her antics over the years, I almost expected her to be even crazier at the Super Bowl. Remember when I was talking about pure excess and indulgence before? Madonna's halftime show is the camp version of that. Just singling out the performance of Vogue that kicks everything off, that alone was a better show than a majority of this list. But Madonna isn't Madonna if it isn't a beautiful disaster, so throw in a gospel choir, a dude on a slackline, collaborations with LMFAO, Nicki Minaj, and MIA, CeeLo Green dressed up like this, and don't forget, world peace for some reason. I'm not typically gonna die on the hill defending Katy Perry, but her Super Bowl halftime show is an all-time great, no question about it. The only song I'm not a fan of during the set list is Roar, but she came in singing it on a giant animatronic lion puppet thing, and then from then on, it's banger after banger. Dark Horse, I Kissed a Girl, Teenage Dream, California Girls, and closing with Firework is phenomenal. But also, she brought back Missy Elliott as her surprise guest. She hadn't been in the public eye for years. Then we see Get Your Freak On, Work It, and Lose Control. That's glorious. Captivating stage design? Check. Cameos that end up working well even if you wouldn't think of them? Check. The perfect amount of goofy stuff mixed in with a high-quality performance? Check. Good for Katy Perry. I'm not gonna put this lightly. Beyonce is the greatest performer of this generation. Her stage presence, her dancing, her vocals, going non-stop for 12 minutes straight. It's the kind of thing that takes your breath away and leaves you speechless. This is a different level than everything we've talked about so far. It's not even in the same category. Run the World, Love on Top, Crazy in Love, End of Time, Baby Boy, and then, excuse me, a Destiny's Child reunion at the Super Bowl for Bootylicious, Independent Women, and Single Ladies, and then closing it out with Halo. This is perfect, and I'm genuinely getting chills at the mere thought of it. And what's better than perfect? Prince. Prince is better than perfect. There was no doubt in anybody's mind that this was gonna be good. He's one of the best musicians ever, has style and charisma bursting out of him, plenty of hits, unreal guitar chops, and so on. But I don't think anyone could have predicted what we ended up getting. The man, the myth, the legend, standing on his own symbol, beginning with We Will Rock You, then doing this musical journey of a few of his classics, covering Proud Mary, throwing in 1999, then All Along the Watchtower, and a Foo Fighters track. But the greatest Super Bowl halftime moments of all time, Prince's performance of Purple Rain while it is downpouring onto him. It's awe-inspiring, monumental, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's godlike. Soon we'll see how this year's group measures up to the rest, but in the meantime, comment down below with your favorites, what did I get wrong, and so on. Thanks for watching. Hey, thank you for watching that video. Be sure to check out this merch collab that I helped design that is now out on OutLoudMerch.com. I have two different colorways of it. One's black, one's pink. It's this like sort of Valentine's theme with two cute little animal couples and always forward, and then on the back it says "You Rock My World" with a guitar. I think it's really cute. If you want to support the channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media at RenshawHS. You can buy my merch, support my Patreon, and thank you again. I'll see you soon.